Hello cinephiles, Analyst here. So about a month ago, the Fanboy created a top 10 Disney animated classics video. Well, that's all well and good. Disney's great. Lovely. Not exactly the biggest thing that I looked forward to growing up. Yeah, I love Disney movies. Who didn't? But I prefer Dreamworks.
Back in October 12, 1994, Dreamworks Animation was founded by Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and David Geffen. Their first film, Ants, was released in October 2, 1998. Despite doing fairly well, the films are often regarded as being lesser quality by many of the public. Some of them even jokingly calling the company Diet Disney.
But I disagree. I love Dreamworks Animation. And this is going to be my top 10 Dreamworks animated films. But before we get into that, 3 rules.
Rule number 1.
No Aardman animation. That means no Wallace and Gromit, no Chicken Run, no Flushed Away.
Rule number 2.
No TV series or direct-to-video.
Rule number 3.
1 entry per franchise.
This movie is, well, it's strange to say the least. Now, originally I liked it primarily for the animation and its strange story, but after a while, I found myself enjoying it specifically for those who they chose to play the characters. My personal favorites being David Schwimmer as Melman the Giraffe and Cedric the Entertainer as Maurice the Lemur. Their energy is enough to keep anyone entertained, or in the case of Cedric, their lack of energy. What happens when a supervillain gets everything he wants? Apparently the same thing that happens when you lose your job. This movie is interesting and fun, but when you take a step back and analyze it, it's a movie about self-worth and finding yourself. It teaches us that it's never too late to change. Okay, so this movie is all over the place. But that's not a negative, it's a positive. Its sporadic nature matches up with the tone and the severity of the situation. These animals, they're going to lose their home if they don't act fast. It's kind of clever, really, that they were able to capture this without the film losing focus. Alright, I get it. It's not a good movie. And it's a meme now. But I liked this before all that nonsense. I thought it was funny. The fact that Jerry Seinfeld helped with the writing and plays the main character, I thought it was fun. I enjoyed Seinfeld, and I enjoyed this movie. Except for the whole bee-human romance thing. Poor Patrick Warburton. She chose a bee over you. That's gotta sting. So unfortunately, when I first saw this movie as a kid, I didn't appreciate it. I thought it was boring, but I watched it again recently. It's a movie about a wild stallion longing to return home. Now, the cool thing about this movie is that in the entirety of the film, Spirit, he doesn't talk once. Although his thoughts, they're narrated by Matt Damon for some reason. Now, this one might bore some younger children, but it's a very beautiful film, and I highly recommend checking it out. Okay, this movie is a very fun watch. Sure, it's basic, it's your standard action film, but the monsters, they're the good guys. It's a comedy film through and through, and I enjoyed every second of it, especially the Close Encounters of the Third Kind reference that no child understood. I noticed that this movie seems to get a lot of hate. And I can see why. but I love it. Now, this movie is extremely mean-spirited. The main character, Oscar, played by Will Smith, actually gets famous for a murder he didn't even commit. And he was put in that situation because he owed his boss, Sykes, played by Martin Scorsese's, money because of salary advancements. And he, in turn, owed a debt to Don Lino, played by Robert De Niro, the leader of the Shark Mob, a ton of money. Is it mature? A bit. But when you see all the Mafia film references, it's worth the watch. My personal favorite being an octopus by the name of Luca, who shares his name with Luca from The Godfather.
Boss, big butts. Ay vey.
This movie is a childhood classic for me. When you really boil it down, it's a road trip comedy for kids. But surprisingly, it did its research on the legend of the Golden City, and the fact that Spain was in search for the fabled city for quite some time. It's amazing how much work was put into a children's film that was still a financial gamble for Dreamworks, with it being only their second film. This is, in my opinion, the best Shrek film. Wow, I feel like I just heard a bunch of Shrek 2 fans knocking at my door to murder me. In my opinion, it's a lot better. It plays off the formula of It's a Wonderful Life. Shrek gets fed up with how his life ended up and wishes for his life to go back to the way it was before kids and before Fiona. Just for a single day. But he gets ripped off by Rumpelstiltskin, who promises this in return for one day of his childhood that Shrek won't even remember being erased, which just so happens to be the day he was born, meaning that everything Shrek did in the first 3 films never happened, sending Shrek on a quest to get his life back. This movie's awesome. Take the Avengers and then take holiday child icons, throw them together, and you get this amazing film. The character designs and personalities, they're not what you would expect. My personal favorite being Santa Claus, played by Alec Baldwin, who comes across as a badass. Now, I don't want to spoil the film for those of you who have not seen it, because I do in fact think it is that good.
Well, there you have it. My top 10 Dreamworks animated films. So, what does your guys' list look like? Similar? Different? Questions, comments, leave them down below. Let's start a conversation, not a lynch mob. And that's all I gotta say for this. So, Avengers assemble, may the force be with you, and it's time to kick ass and chew bubblegum.